Bloomberg.com to read his story in its entirety. All right, right now we do want to get an update on world and national news. Off to Nancy Lyons, who goes to the Bloomberg 99.1 newsroom in the nation's capital. Hey, Nancy.
Thanks, Carol. House Republicans are concluding their three-day retreat in Orlando, where they sought party unity on a legislative agenda. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman has more from Washington.
As he touted such bills as a parent's Bill of Rights, Speaker Kevin McCarthy was again asked his view of the possible indictment of Donald Trump in a case involving money paid to a porn actress.
This is just political, and we're kind of tired of that. This was personal money. I wasn't trying to hide. This was 7 years ago, statute of limitations, with a local DA playing in presidential politics. If that starts right there, don't you think it'll happen across the country?
McCarthy also spoke of the danger posed by the summit meeting of Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, which he likened to the alliance of Hitler and Mussolini that led to World War II. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
The White House is coming under scrutiny for its handling of last year's nationwide baby formula shortage. The House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is asking the FDA to submit all communications between the agency, White House staff, and the Human Services Department regarding the shortage. He wants that information by April 4th. The panel plans to hold a hearing next week on the issue. Google is granting the public access to its conversational AI service that it calls Bard. Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow says it's racing to catch up with its competitors.
They're going to limit the number of interactions initially and then increase it over time, as well as onboard people slowly.
Bloomberg's Ed Ludlow says Google may have an advantage since it has access to more data than its competitors, and AI is only as good as the data it can process. New findings suggest life on Earth may originate from extraterrestrial sources. Scientists in Japan point to an analysis of samples collected from an asteroid in 2020. More than 20 types of amino acids, the building blocks of life, were collected from an asteroid about 180 million miles away. Global news 24 hours a day, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in over 120 countries.
The news you need to start your market day on Bloomberg Daybreak.
This is Karen Moscow.
And I'm Nathan Hager. Join us tomorrow morning on Bloomberg Daybreak.
What will the Fed decide after all the banking turmoil? We'll ask Nora Rame of FS Investments.
And the latest on former President Trump's legal drama with Bloomberg Government's Emily Wilkins.
Bloomberg Daybreak, weekday mornings at 5 on Bloomberg 1130, the Bloomberg Business app, or listen on demand wherever you get your podcasts.
The New Deal created American infrastructure that unleashed new opportunity. Today, we're doing it again with massive investment in modernizing our infrastructure to build for tomorrow. At Build America Mutual, we protect your municipal bond investments that help make it happen, building a vibrant future for our communities and your portfolio. Invest in the future of America with BAM insured bonds.
We don't just break news. We build perspective. Bloomberg publishes over 5,000 data-driven stories a day across multiple platforms, so you can gain insight and act with confidence. Ready to dive deeper? Start at Bloomberg.com/thinkbigger. Change can be disruptive, but at Bloomberg, we think bigger. Our sell-side solutions combine trading and automation with market-leading data, so you can evolve, scale, and embrace change. This is Bloomberg for the sell side. Visit Bloomberg.com/sell-side. Why do institutional broker-dealers rely on BNY Mellon Pershing for a tailored and proactive experience? Marcus Mattielli, Director of Institutional Solutions, shares how Pershing helps you consider everything.
In this highly competitive environment, BNY Mellon Pershing's Institutional Solutions team wants to know, what are you doing today to position your firm for future growth? Do you have confidence in the stability and the durability of your strategic partners? Can you access clear guidance to help you be better, sharper, faster, and more strategic? Whether it's clearing, financing, collateral management, securities lending, or global trade execution, BNY Mellon and Pershing are committed to meeting the evolving needs of institutional firms.
To learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for broker-dealers, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC. Bloomberg Invest returns to London on March 22nd, gathering leading financial thinkers in investing to identify the biggest risks and greatest opportunities facing economists, money managers, and influential investors in the region. From traditional investment tools to crypto to alternative assets, how should we put our money to work? Join to hear from executives from Blackstone, Quantum Light, and Sotheby's. Learn more about Bloomberg Invest, strategies for wealth creation at BloombergLive.com/investradio.
Bloomberg Radio, on demand and in your podcast feed.
On the latest Sound On podcast, Republican Congressman Brian Stile on his call for Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg to answer questions about his investigation into Donald Trump.
This is a case, we got to remember, that was passed on by previous DAs. It was passed on by the Department of Justice, and now a partisan elected DA in Manhattan has risen this zombie case back up. I think there's appropriate questions in a case that's this significant as to why it's moving forward in the way it is. I think the American people deserve to know the answers we've asked in our letter, and I think that is totally appropriate in a case that is of a potential indictment of the former President of the United States.
There's nothing official on this, right? He may not be arrested at all.
Well, we do know the investigation is ongoing. There is, as you know, there's no final decision that I or anyone else has been made aware of. But I do think the fact that the partisan investigation is ongoing, or potentially partisan investigation, I think is worthy of the questions that we've asked, which is federal dollars being utilized in this investigation, and is this investigation in coordination with any other federal agencies?
Does it bother you to see politicians raising money on this? And Donald Trump is not the only one.
You know, I think that people sending out emails and raising money is nothing new in the world of politics. I think the real answer here is ultimately we got to get the policies right to make sure that people feel confident in our judicial system, that it is not partisan but is blind to politics, and that ultimately everyone under the court of law has a true fair shake.
Hear the full conversation on the latest edition of the Bloomberg Sound On podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Plus, listen anytime on the Bloomberg Business app and Bloomberg.com. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on Bloomberg Television and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
It's 4:40 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long here at Bloomberg. Earnings front and center after hours. Nike, that stock down now by just about 0.65%. It reported quarterly sales that beat street expectations as the sportswear brand worked down the excess inventory that has plagued the industry. Weakness, though, in China persisted. Poonam Goyal covers retail for Bloomberg Intelligence, and she was our guest right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
China didn't do as well as everyone had expected, but it was still up 1% on a constant currency basis. And I think the key with China is not the quarters that they reported, but the quarters that they will report in the coming year, because that's when we really think China will show a meaningful bounce back, given that's when COVID restrictions were actually eased. So we're still very optimistic on China.
And again, after hours, the stock right now is lower by 1.1%. GameStop swung to a surprise profit in the fourth quarter. It beat analyst estimates for revenue. The shares after hours, they're up now by just about 31%. A jump in banks and assurances from global authorities ease concerns on Wall Street today that the recent financial turmoil will lead to a full-blown crisis. Gina Bolvin is the president of Bolvin Wealth Management. She was interviewed right here on Bloomberg Business Week and says, no question, sentiment has shifted.
2 weeks ago, we were questioning and debating if the Fed should do 50 or 25 basis points. Now we're discussing if they should raise rates at all. So things are changing very quickly.
What isn't changing is Bloomberg's coverage. 2 o'clock Wall Street time tomorrow. That's when we get the decision itself. And of course, we'll have the news conference from Jay Powell live right here on Bloomberg Radio. S&P up 51, back above 4,000, up 1.3%. Dow up 1% today, up 316. NASDAQ up today by 1.6%. 10-year yield 3.60%, with the 2-year 4.17%. Spot gold down 2%, 19.40 the ounce. Crude up 2.5%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Well, as we get ready for the next Fed meeting, we continue to talk to individuals that might give us some insight into what's going on with consumers and just the business landscape, what is going on when it comes to IT spending. And I do feel like our next guest plays into both of these worlds big time. With us is Maju Kuravilla. He is CEO of Bolt. It's a checkout and e-commerce platform company. He's former VP and general manager for Amazon's global logistics, was at Amazon and part of the team that built out Amazon Prime. He's joining us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. So nice to have you here with Jess and myself. How are you? And let's start big, broad. How would you describe the business environment right now?
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on. That would be an understatement. But we're very excited about what we see for the future. And for retailers, for example, we look at three things. Number one, really focus on the consumer, because there's a lot changing for the consumer right now, helping to figure out how can we really focus on the consumer. Number two, so much happening on from a technology perspective. Nobody was talking about generative AI last year. Now that's top of mind for everybody. And that's just one thing, so many happening in the technology. So how can we innovate fast and move fast? And number three, e-commerce is still 15% of the overall commerce. How can we get from 15 to 50? And that is actually in the hands of some of the big retailers. So we are excited about working on all three and helping the industry on that.
Speaking though to the environment, are you finding that you have more customers, the growth in your business, like they're coming to you? Like, is there growth that tells you the economic outlook, the economic environment, maybe not so bad, the market environment, not so bad? As we continue to talk about recession, no recession, soft landing, landing, all these different scenarios.
Carol, that's interesting because for us, the product what we are providing, which is helping retailers with one of their number one problems, that is conversion at checkout. You know, around 70% of shoppers drop off right at the point of checkout.
I do that a lot. Yes,
yeah,
I do too.
And on mobile, that is 85%.
Because it's difficult or what?
You see something, you're excited, you get all the way to checkout, and then you're ready to buy. You have to fill in all these fields on every single site. Then you have to walk and get your wallet, take the credit card, type in all that information. So many steps. So how can we remove all those friction? And what we have found is with Bolt, we can remove pretty much all of those steps and make it a one-click buying experience. And when we do that, we see around 50% increase in conversion versus someone who have to type in all that problem.
I have to say, Jess, it makes me feel like, wait, maybe they're storing information somewhere. I wonder what you're thinking.
I've thought about that as well, too, because I'm definitely guilty of that, especially at certain price points. Sometimes I debate whether or not I want something, but I was curious as far as specifically, how exactly do you compete in that type of market? How do you compete in that way?
Yeah, so think about from a consumer perspective. You are trying to buy something on a merchant site, and we give the opportunity for them to save that information on the network. And now, when they go to any other merchant site who are on the Bolt network trying to buy something, we look up and see if they are on the network, and if they are on the network, we pull up all the information and give them a faster experience to buy. And that, what we do though, is very unique in the sense that we do that in a very merchant-friendly way. Our magic sits behind the scenes. We empower merchant to directly connect with the consumer without adding a friction of ourselves in the middle.
So help me out here, because if I buy something through Apple Pay, I just say Apple Pay and they have all my information. If I do something at PayPal, same thing. So how is what you're doing is different?
Well, we support all of the above what you just mentioned, but remember what you just said, Carol. You said Apple Pay and PayPal. What we are trying to do is empower the merchant so people remember the merchant's name.
Okay.
They can provide that feature themselves. Empower them. Like when you go to Amazon, buy something.
Right.
You don't remember Apple Pay or PayPal. You remember Amazon.
Yeah, and Amazon remembers me.
That's right. And turns out, you know, like you mentioned before, I worked at Amazon, helped them with that growth and part of some of making those functionalities ready for everybody. And Amazon learned this a long time. That is still not true for almost every other merchant.
Interesting.
What we are doing is bringing that functionality in a very decentralized way for everyone else. So all merchants and consumers can be on this network and empower their buying experience everywhere.
Well, and I was kind of hinting before, though, then the security of that information is crucial. Because if you are doing that then ultimately for a lot of different retailers, so how do you ensure that information is protected?
Well, you are absolutely right. We obsess about it. I mean, one of the good things about us is we built from the ground up for security and privacy.
Yeah.
And we go through every rigorous testing and certification that's available so we can meet and beat the bar for anybody. And the level of complexity and sophistication we have, we are able to get very large multi-billion-dollar merchants like Fanatics, Revolve, you know, like even big brands like Casper. A lot of the big brands trust us to help them with one of the most important functions, that is checkout, and help save and store that information for them.
And we only have about a minute left, but I know you're a private company, and it's been a tough time for many private startups that have been struggling to raise money. What has it been like for you in this environment?
I mean, we have been reacting very fast since the beginning of the changes, and I had to make several tough decisions so that we can be where we are. And what we are seeing now is we're looking forward and very excited about the new customers we are able to bring in. Like we moved up to larger enterprises, and we're seeing is our product is now more relevant than ever before.
Right.
Because everyone is trying to convert, everyone is trying to get more customers, and we are able to bring them in. And, we were fortunate enough to raise a bunch of money, and we are in a really strong and a good place.
I'd be remiss not to ask you, I just got 30 seconds. You're in San Francisco. Has there been any chilling effect of the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, just quickly?
Not for us.
And you had no exposure?
We have no exposure to that.
But you haven't seen any impact in terms of innovation or impact on the valley and everybody stepping back a little bit?
Well, everyone is thinking about what it means, and I'm sure there is going to be some ripple effect or longer term. We have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, that certainly feels like the environment as we continue to see how it plays out. Thank you so much. Come back. We'd love to hear, certainly as you continue to grow your business and things that impact the retail world. Great to have with us Maju Kuravilla. He's CEO of Bolt, former VP and General Manager for Amazon's Global Logistics, as we said, here in our Bloomberg Interactive studio. Get Bloomberg Business Week's new newsletter, BW Daily, delivered to your inbox every weekday. You get the power of Business Week in a handy form. Sign up at Bloomberg.com/newsletters.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
It's going to be a fairly mild night tonight with partly cloudy skies, overnight low temperature in Midtown about 40 to 45, and some 30s out in the suburbs. For Wednesday, more clouds and sun, a chance of late day showers near 60, few showers around breezy near 50 overnight. Then for Thursday, some afternoon showers return, high temperature low 60s, and Friday, still a chance of a shower mid-50s. This is Gary Best with your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Tomorrow,
We have not made any decision about the March meeting.
inflation pressures suggest the Fed will keep raising rates. But will banking turmoil cause them to pause?
We're debating whether they're going to go nothing or 25.
Full coverage on a special edition of Bloomberg Surveillance.
There's very little consensus when you listen to the economists.
The Fed rate decision and Powell press conference.
They always said we're going to hike until something breaks. Well, aren't we there?
Tomorrow, starting at 1:30 on Bloomberg 1130 and Bloomberg Television.
This is the Bloomberg Tri-State Business Report. I'm Larry Kofsky. Recent turmoil in the banking sector has made a winner out of New York Community Bank Corp. Wall Street analysts are the most bullish on the stock that they've